Avajoy, thank you. Joining us now to dive a little deeper into this case and to talk about where we go from here is criminal defense attorney Lou Shapiro. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Special prosecutor David Weiss, in his first remarks since this verdict, said that it sends the message that no one is above the law. When you look at this verdict and how this trial came out, what's the message that this trial sends?
Well, thank you, Chris. The message is, it is depending on who you ask, right? This isn't just about Hunter Biden. This is about Trump, too. We just came off the heels of a Trump conviction, and now we have a Hunter Biden conviction. And I think if you stop anybody on the street, you're getting different answers. Some may say, why is the country even being bothered with this situation? Why are my tax dollars going to these cases? Why isn't the country in a better health? Why am I paying high interest rates? Why is crime up? And then you have other people that'll say, well, it's about time Hunter Biden's been taken to justice. It's about time Trump's been taken to task. So it's all of the above out there. And it will be interesting to see as we get to the election how meaningful these verdicts in both cases actually are to the public.
And before we talk about sentencing, you kind of bring up an interesting point. We've been watching members of Congress today debate this verdict as well. We've brought on the House Rules Committee and seeing the debate that's been going on there. And you have this case where President Trump is found guilty, criminal charges, and you hear the criticism of the legal system, that it's been politicized, it's been weaponized. We hear those words. And then today you have Hunter Biden, the president's son, found guilty in a federal prosecution, and the Department of Justice is led by a member of the president's cabinet. You're an attorney. How should people look at the legal system when it comes to the world between the law and politics?
I think, sadly, we've come to a state of great disappointment in this country. Ordinarily, a case like Hunter Biden's case would not be prosecuted on this level. It would be handled quietly, pursuant to something like diversion, where somebody who's an addict who has no federal criminal record can be given some type of recourse to earn a dismissal of some sort. Not a fiasco like this, not a circus like this, with so many people, so much media attention, and the same goes for the previous Trump case as well. And some try to figure out, well, where did this start? Did this start with the Clinton impeachment? Did it start earlier? Is Newt Gingrich the one to blame for all this? But we hope that as we get to the next election and look to the future, that our justice system is used for cases that really merit what I think people think are the important issues to everyone, that are affecting the day-to-day lives, and not that are affecting people when they go to the campaign line to vote.
And Hunter Biden could face up to 25 years in prison for this, sentencing expected within the next 120 days. What is your expectation of how this sentencing process will play out?
So because he has no criminal record in terms of the federal sense, nothing violent, no previous incidents like this, nobody got hurt, I think it's clearly a probationary case, maybe some community service, maybe some drug treatment, but that's all it's going to be in the end.
Why is it 120 days? That seems incredibly long to have a sentencing.
So the way it works in the federal system is the defense has a certain amount of time to file their sentencing memorandum. The prosecution also files a sentencing memorandum. Probation does an interview of the defendant and then prepares its own sentencing recommendation. Sometimes there are responses filed to each other's sentencing recommendation positions based on people's opinions on them. So, and the judge also needs to have time to review all the sentencing memorandum that's provided and then formulate a decision ahead of time. So that speaks to the 120-day cycle.
And of course, there was a plea agreement that was in place that would have settled Hunter Biden's tax case that will take place in California, as well as the gun charges that he was found guilty on today. Why is it that these cases related to addiction and then the purchasing of firearms, why is it that these cases typically aren't tried in court?
Because there are other ways of handling them short of going to a full-blown trial. For example, if somebody doesn't pay their taxes, let's say, they usually will get a letter from the IRS, and included with that will be an offer to compromise. And the person will hire an attorney or even some sort of tax resolution specialist that will advocate on their behalf to the IRS to negotiate a mechanism to pay back taxes. It can be over months, years, or so forth. It doesn't go to a full-blown federal criminal trial, especially on an amount like this. It sounds high to many people, but relatively in the tax scheme, there are people who owe way more than Hunter Biden owes in back taxes.
And if Hunter Biden appeals his conviction, I mean, how long could this process go on until it's totally settled?
It could take a year or two, but to be honest with you, Chris, I don't think there's really any meritorious grounds for appeal here. The evidence was there. I mean, rarely do you have a defendant who self-publishes a book admitting to a crime, and then you have eyewitnesses as well testifying to it. So there's really no grounds for appeal. The defense tried to argue that when Hunter Biden filled out the application, the question about being a drug addict goes to just the very moment that he filled out that form. But the prosecution argued, of course, that's not the spirit behind that question, and the jury agreed as well. Therefore, they're convicting him of.
Our criminal defense attorney, Lou Shapiro, always great to have you on. Thanks for your time.
You got it. See you later, Chris.
And as we